Rich dentist, comes from a rich family down in South Florida. He has a sister named Wendy. Wendy was in a bitter custody battle with her ex-husband, FSU law professor Dan Markel. Dan Markel was shot and killed in his driveway. It was murder for hire. And now prosecutors say the mastermind dentist behind the murder of this FSU law professor and loving father of two is Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother. Julie Genet, Court TV legal correspondent, will be covering this for us. She has the story tonight.
To this day, do you think he's guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that he should be prosecuted for his involvement in the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
That's Catherine McBanawa talking about her ex-boyfriend, Charles Adelson, during her murder trial for the death of Florida State law professor Dan Markel.
Do you think he should come forward and let the jury know that you had nothing to do with this?
Yes, ma'am.
It was McBanawa's second trial for Markel's death after a jury deadlocked in her first trial in 2019. The second time around, a jury rejected her claims of innocence.
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
Now, Florida prosecutors are setting their sights on Charlie Adelson, Markel's former brother-in-law.
What enemy or enemies had Mr. Markel made that set into motion such a brutal act? The answer, his own family.
It would take 8 years for prosecutors to bring a case against Adelson to a grand jury, despite early suspicions of his possible involvement. Markel was involved in a bitter child custody dispute with Adelson's sister, Wendy, when he was gunned down in his driveway in 2014. Wendy Adelson testified that there was ill will between her ex-husband and her brother.
He had bought me a TV when I got divorced and said it was a present and made a very bad joke and bad taste that it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
But prosecutors say Adelson did hire hitmen with McBanawa's help. Sigfredo Garcia, the father of McBanawa's children, and Luis Rivera, a gang member and friend of Garcia's. Rivera pleaded guilty in exchange for testimony implicating Garcia as the gunman and McBanawa as the link to the Adelson family.
I gave him the truth, bro. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you, man. I gave him the truth. Like, it was Katie and Garcia. It was all three of us was involved.
Investigators used a sprawling web of surveillance video, wiretaps, and cell tower data to connect a vehicle that was leaving the crime scene to Garcia and Rivera. Connecting McBanawa to the would prove more difficult because she wasn't involved, according to McBanawa's lawyers.
It wasn't through Catherine McBanawa. This wasn't something that was negotiated through Catherine McBanawa. It was about her. The communications that we have between Sigfredo Garcia and Charles Adelson in the weeks before the murder, in the days before the murder, are consistent with the fact that there was a deal between the two of them, and part of that deal was Charles Adelson breaking up with Catherine so that Sigfredo could get back the woman that he loved so much.
What's different now? Leon County prosecutors say they have a new version of secretly recorded video showing McBanawa and Adelson in a restaurant in 2016 with enhanced audio.
If a badge comes up to you, tell them have a nice day, officer. Listen, if they want to charge you with something, charge me. If not, I don't talk to cops.
Prosecutors showed the video to the jury in McBanawa's retrial and to the grand jury that indicted Charles Adelson.
The piece of evidence was something that I did think was important, and I've always felt like if we could just get that clarified, that would make a big difference potentially in the case, so I was really happy to have that piece of evidence to present to the grand jury.
Charles Adelson now faces the same charges that McBanawa was convicted of: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Adelson has pleaded not guilty and maintains his innocence.
So jury selection began today. Will take several days to get a jury in this case. Other big news is that two Adelsons were taken off of the witness list: Donna and Harvey, Wendy and Charlie's parents, who still aren't in the clear. Apparently, there's still an ability to investigate them for their role in all of this, or potential or alleged role in all of this. But they were on the witness list. now off of that list. Now, down in Florida, if you're on the witness list, you can be deposed prior to trial. They apparently were going to take the 5th. And now there's an agreement between the prosecution and defense just to eliminate them as potential witnesses in this case. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. Also joining us in Stamford, Connecticut, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crosland, riding that winning streak. And in Columbia, South Carolina, criminal defense attorney and lawyer Lori, or is it lawyer Lori?
Lawyer Lori.
Lawyer Lori, right? Because lawyer is too easy to say. On TikTok, Lori Murray is with us. Great to see everyone tonight. All right, Al, let's start here with the parents, Donna and Harvey. All along I've been saying, how much does Donna love Charlie? How much does Donna love Charlie? Will she fall on the sword for him at his trial and say, I did it, I did it? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So does Charlie, as part of his defense, point the finger at any other member of his family? Do they raise the possibility that somebody else did it, but not Charlie?
Yeah, that's the old plan B. You got to go with the plan B. I mean, in that type of a situation, especially with the fact that you've got 3 people already convicted of this heinous crime, and you've got a lot of fingers you can point. You got a lot of people you can point at, and you got a lot of people you can accuse.
Well, do you agree with me, Al? I believe that there's no way the jury doesn't believe that this hit was ordered by someone connected to the Adelson family, right? I can't imagine a scenario. There's no reason for Catherine McBanowa to take out Professor Dan Markel. I mean, there's no connection there, right? Unless what?
I mean, you know, unless she was trying to,
She's a
unless she was
shot
trying
girl
to
from
impress
South
the family.
Florida.
Well, but Vinny, she's looking at, you know, maybe getting involved with the family and getting a large inheritance or something along those lines. If she ends up marrying the dentist, or well, I mean, like, there's so many weird things.
Wait, she marries Charlie, who's already got money. So you're saying it's like a dowry? Her dowry to be a part of the Adelson family was to whack the brother-in-law?
There has been weirder circumstances on this show than that. Okay, weirder than that. And there's no reason why she can't, you know, why they can't throw that out there. I mean, she obviously has no credibility. So why not? Say, listen, this is what she was trying to do. She would have done anything for me to get me to fall in love with her or stay in love with her, marry her, whatever this is, take her away from all of this.
So to make Charlie, the Ferrari driving dentist, to fall in love with the shot girl from the club, Catherine McBanowa, there they are together, the couple, she's gonna make sure that the father of her children, along with his Latin King gang member friend, drive up to Tallahassee to take out her potential sister-in-law's ex-husband. Darnell, do you like that argument?
Someday, my prince will come.
Go ahead, Darnell.
I'm just afraid of what date night looks like at Al's house, if that's what he's thinking is going to happen. So, no, I do not like that theory at all. And I agree with you 100%. The Adelsons are behind it. It's always...
Okay, let me stop you there, Darnell. Okay, so you, like I, believe that, and I believe the jury's going to think that, based upon the evidence, that nobody else in the world would have has a beef with Professor Dan Markel, especially someone in South Florida, to send down these South Florida residents 400 miles north. So how can Charlie's attorneys somehow, how do they make this argument? What do they do to try to make the jury think that, well, maybe it's Wendy, maybe it's Donna, maybe it's Harvey, but it's not Charlie?
Well, the first one, so typically you do the follow the money thing, right? But this is a custody battle. So you know,
the money goes to Catherine McBanowa. Donna is writing some of those checks.
Yeah, I would agree. So So typically, you kind of follow that, but in this particular case, the motive has to be the way you present the motive, if I was a prosecutor, is we know that there's a custody battle between these two people, and the link here is the brother, the dentist. And we leave it up to you guys to figure out which one of them is involved, but they don't have to carry the burden of pointing them out. You just put it out there that this could not have happened but for the motivation behind this family and this custody battle, and you make the link between her and the rest of them. I don't think you have to pinpoint.
Okay, Lori, do you think there's any way that this jury, looking at this family, will say, we don't know which one of the Adelsons or which combination of Adelsons necessarily planned this hit, so we're going to find reasonable doubt? Or do you think they sweep them all up in the same sort of place? Because to me, it's very complicated because it's family, right? It's tough for me to think that Charlie would point the finger at his mother or his sister, but I don't know. What do you think happens here, Lori?
Well, I think it depends on how good the defense is. And I think it's funny that you find it hard to think that he would point the finger at the family members, but he would commit murder of
for his family.
brother-in-law.
See, the motive is that he loves his sister so much and loves the kids so much that he'll do anything to make his sister happy and his mother happy to have the kids down in South Florida, because Wendy Adelson was losing in court. In court. Those kids were not going to be separated from their loving father, Dan.
I agree with you. And I think this is exactly why we have, the ability to separate trials. This is why they're not all being tried at one time, because
the other Adelsons aren't even charged, so nothing's happened with them.
Exactly. But they have the ability to investigate them, and they were going to plead the fifth for a reason. So they definitely have something that is out there, in my opinion. So you have the ability to separate the trials, to sever them, and to point the finger at the rest of the family. I don't think they'd have hard feelings because they can all do that. It's the same thing with the Y&W Melly case. Those two defendants are both, right in the crime scene. Like, I know that there's a lot more evidence on Charles here, but you can point the finger at the rest of the family, then the rest of the family can come back and point the finger at you, and then nobody knows who did it. Everybody's confused. But the problem here is that he has the woman who has the connection. He has the shot girl, and she's the one
he's sleeping with her.
Connection to the killer.
He's sleeping with her.
Yeah.
Her pictures are together. Al, do you think he testifies?
I've got to wait. That's a last-minute decision. That's a last-minute decision. I got to see how the case is going in for the prosecution.
Any chance that if he testifies, he says, my mom did it. My mother and my sister, they did it, then they told me about it, and I didn't know what to do, and that's why I'm making all these crazy statements on these recordings. Do you think he does that?
No, I don't think he would do that. I don't think he would do that at all. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense that the mother would be behind something like this, and I don't think you blame your mother for that kind of a thing, and I don't think if you did,
Donna
she'd never
hated the professor. She was gonna, yes, she picked him out on J-Date initially, but she wanted those grandchildren down in South Florida, and Dan was a professor in Tallahassee. He wasn't leaving, he was winning. Things were getting nasty with this family. She was even, this is how far she was gonna take it, because Dan Markel is Jewish. The Adelsons, they're Jewish as well. The children were being raised Jewish. And she was gonna threaten to tell Dan that that they were sending the kids to a Christian school. Like, this is how crazy and bitter and petty this battle and what Don is alleged to have done in this family law case. So I don't think it's out of the world to think that someone could point the finger at her.
Well, it's a far stretch from Christian school to murder. I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. So I'm going to go to.
Well, somebody ordered the hit,
and I'm going to kill him.
Somebody ordered the hit,
right? And as I said before, someday my prince will come.
Okay,
and that's what the shot girl thought. She was going to be able to get into the family and move it on up.
All right.
Funny thing there, my mom's senior quote in high school was, "Someday my prince will come, wish he'd hurry up, the bum." And I think that might be true in this case. He might be the bum.
They're with us the whole hour. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crosland, Lori Murray. Up next, folks. New body cam video in the case of momfluencer Ruby Franke, who is now accused of abusing her own children who starred in her videos.
A Wisconsin woman accused of killing her friend with eye drops.
And then defrauding her for over $250,000.
The state believes this defendant has evidenced her capacity to take advantage of at-risk individuals.
Was the victim trying to commit suicide?
Or was she murdered for money?
The Eye Drops murder trial. Live coverage this week following jury selection on Court TV.
Welcome to Connections. I'm Jody Hildebrand. So glad you're with us. If you're like me, you've had pain in your life. It could be from a divorce, work conflicts, relationship issues with children, grandchildren, spouse, anxiety, depression, or fear that you don't understand, feelings that you're not enough or that you're unlovable. Connections is the solution. You can change. You can experience feelings of being whole, centered, liberated, connected, empowered, and free. Come and see for yourself. There's something here for you.
Sounds great, right? Sounds great. People that need a little help, a little motivation, some counseling, some life coaching. We see it everywhere, but that's Jody Hildebrand. And she had this company, Connections, still has it. Also a podcast, Moms of Truth. And there she is, Jody Hildebrand, with her friend, Ruby Franke. And both women smiling and having a relatively successful little business that they had going. That's the before picture. Let me show you their after picture. It's a little more recent. Uh-oh. There's Jody and Ruby in a Zoom hearing, wearing the stripes, each charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse. The abuse was of Ruby Franke's children, and Ruby Franke, momfluencer, YouTube channel, 8 passengers. Maybe you've seen it, millions of followers, millions and millions of views. That whole YouTube channel went away. Then she started working with Jody Hildebrand with the podcast. And then one day, one of Ruby's children, who was at Jody's house, escaped from the house, like a child escaping from the house. Why is a child escaping from the house? Well, that's what this whole case is about, the alleged abuse of this child who got away. 911 was called, and now Ruby and Jody, business partners, podcasters, now co-defendants for the abuse of Ruby's children. Now, there's a third person involved in all this, a friend and co-worker of Ruby Franke from this Connections outfit, who was actually watching some of the other children of Ruby Franke, okay? And once they find out, police investigate what's happening with the child who escaped from Jody Hildebrand's house, they went to go check on and get the other children who were staying with this woman, Pam Botcher, and then police speak with her and they try to get more information, but they also reveal more information about what was happening inside that house where Ruby's child had to escape from. Let's take a look and a listen.
Hello, Pam. How are you doing?
Good.
I'm Officer Hawkins, American Fork Police Department.
Hi.
So we had a agency assist out of St. George and Springville that we're just looking for. Okay. When you picked her up, what was the case? Did somebody ask you to pick her up, or did you just pick her up? What was going on?
Well, I'm having guests coming, and she came and did some cleaning for me.
As of right now, I'll just need you to give your phone to your husband. Okay. And as of this moment, you're going to be detained right now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so
what does that mean?
is there anything on you?
No.
Okay, perfect. Just put your hands in front of you, okay? Just gonna place you temporarily under arrest.
Wait.
I'll explain to you that
What are you guys doing?
I've explained this already. I'm being as courteous as I can.
Okay, well, I'm gonna call an attorney.
That's fine.
I don't know what's
Yeah,
going
I don't
on.
even know what this is all about. Those are my friends' daughters.
Okay. So your friend's daughters then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is Ruby Frankie's daughter.
Okay.
She's a friend of ours. She comes over and helps me every once in a while to do cleaning and stuff.
Okay. So this is what happened, okay? Her parents were in the situation of a child abuse allegation.
Okay.
DCFS made the report and went to the house and found children malnourished and locked in a safe. Okay?
In the safe?
In a safe.
So they've been here all day. We went to Rolly's farm and got Rolly's Red Barn and got ice cream at the Red Barn. And then we came here and we scrubbed the floors and vacuumed and made lunch, had BLTs, and we were going to go pick tomatoes and make salsa tonight.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we were doing tonight.
So just to make sure I'm understanding all this correctly, Ruby contacted you around noon and said that they had
Yeah, around it. I don't know if that's exact.
That's your best guess.
So she had a family emergency.
And needed you to look at the girls.
Yeah, she said, would you mind watching the girls while I'm gone? Because she was leaving. I said, yeah, I could do that because I need some help cleaning.
Okay, and then did she say to bring them to your house for today and then take it back home tonight, or to keep them here for a couple days?
She didn't say. I was just planning on bringing them home tonight.
How did you start to know the family? How did you meet?
The Frankie family?
Yeah.
Through a program called Connections.
Okay.
It's a kind of a life skills type thing.
Okay. So tell me more about like when you first met them through the program, or not really know what the program is.
She was a coach.
Okay. What type of things do they do with the program?
It's like life skills.
Life skills.
Like learning how to, it's like be honest, responsible, and humble. Those are those three pillars of their program.
Okay, so that woman, Pam Botcher, seemingly is some sort of a witness. They're getting information. They detained her. She wasn't arrested. She hasn't been charged with anything. But here we are. We just finished a trial down in Florida involving a boy who was locked in a box. And now, did you hear that line? That the children were locked in a safe? Children locked in a safe? What's going on in this world? Let's bring back in our think tank, still with us, Al Wunsch and Lori Murray. We just lost Darnell's signal for a second, but Al, we'll get him back. Trust me, we'll get him back for you. Don't worry. Okay, Lori, let me start with you, Lori. We just finished the trial of the boy in a box, and there was no reasonable explanation for that. Here we are now. We've got children locked in a safe. What's going on?
I have no words. I watched that case, the last trial, with horror. I am watching this one from afar with horror, and from women that are supposed to have a motherly instinct. I mean, how many children did this woman have? And then she's out there pretending to be a life coach. I don't understand it. I don't know whether we're just starting to find it, and maybe it's always been there. But I have no words. Children are like puppies. They're helpless. They rely on you. They look up to you. They're excited to see you. How you can kick one when they're down is beyond me.
Now, there's another twist in this story. And join us tomorrow night, because we're going to take a real deep dive and do an hour on this tomorrow night. That's what we're planning to do. But Al, I want you to watch this. So all along we've been wondering, well, what about the father? And apparently there was some sort of breakup between Ruby and her husband. But now we've got some body cam video of Ruby's husband, Kevin Frankie, and apparently there's an issue with one of their older daughters now, I guess she's an adult, who took some stuff from the house, and he's trying to get her charged with a crime. Let's watch.
Yeah, explain to me again why this was not robbery.
Because it's a civil issue. You guys are family. She's been in the house before. You haven't been in the house in a year. She had interest in the items. She didn't take them with the intention to deprive you of them. So theft, that's the theft code. We have to prove intent to deprive you of the items. And that wasn't her intent in having them. So the detective sergeant said that we're not going to charge her for anything.
Okay. I'll have to do some more research on that.
You're welcome to do that. If you want to follow up with our detective, do so.
Okay.
All right, there are some issues in this family, to say the least, Al. So now Dad, who I believe is separated from Mom, is trying to get their oldest daughter, who's been very active on social media, not as active as lawyer Lori on TikTok, though, and has been posting some stuff about the family. He's trying to get her arrested.
Yes. This is a wonderful family. This is like Father Knows Best, personified. This really, we question why people can become parents without having some form of like a license or something. I mean, this has come to the point now, you need a license to do everything in this country except be parents. And this is a perfect example why something has to be done. This is absolutely who the heck is charging us with robbery of all things, okay, at this situation? This momfluencer is a disaster personified. Kids in a safe, kids in a box. I mean, it's a horrendous situation. I mean, there's something going on here. I don't know if it's global warming or whatever the situation is, but I mean, we are really getting very, very, very weird with regards to these types of situations. And these poor kids, they're doomed. And that's the part that breaks my heart the most, is that these kids are absolutely doomed. How could they possibly grow up to a normal life when they've been subjected to this type of just horrendous, hideous treatment from the two people they're supposed to trust the most?
And again, this was someone who was a momfluencer, millions of subscribers on YouTube, millions and millions of views, all about the family life. And now this is happening. Again, we're going to do an hour on this tomorrow night. Meanwhile, we're working hard to get Darnell, Al.
Oh, good.
Up next.
If I don't get him, I'll be very upset.
She wrote a children's book about grieving after allegedly poisoning her husband with fentanyl. Tonight, new transcripts from an explosive jailhouse phone call.
There was pounding on the door. Bang, bang, bang.
He said that we'd seen his face and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
I survived because I'm a born fighter.
I Survived. Tonight, 10/9 Central on Court TV.
The civil trial that is the focus of the Netflix documentary, Take Care of Maya.
Is the hospital they're suing responsible for what happened?
The Take Care of Maya trial. Trial coverage weekdays at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Do you want to relive the biggest moments from our captivating trials? Stay up to date on all the breaking legal and true crime news? Well, Court TV's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channel have exactly what you're looking for. So come join the conversation with us at Court TV. We are your front row seat to justice.
She wants to link Eric getting the drugs and pills from Mexico, so we need some kind of connection. Her private investigator is doing some research on the ranch cartel place Eric would stay at. Here's what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie. He would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. He will need to talk to Sky at the meeting next week. Upon information and belief, just like they say, a year prior to Eric's death, Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie were chatting about Eric's Mexico trips. Eric told Ronnie he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers on the ranch, but not to tell me, because I would get mad, because I always said he just gets high every night and won't help take care of kids. Ronnie should have texts from Eric talking about getting high as well. Eric told Ronnie he keeps them in an allergy pill bottle in his work truck so I wouldn't find them. Ronnie never told me about the conversation. Eric finally told me and asked if Carmen could get him some. Eric never wanted anyone to know he had an issue, especially get caught. He always wanted Corey to go down for him. Reword this however he needs to make the point just to include it all. The connection has to be made with Mexico and the drugs. Ronnie will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. He can be short and to the point, but it has to be done. When you talk to Ronnie about this, meet up with him in person. I worry sometimes your house and phone are bugged. Tell him I need him to do this. Bring me home, and then we will get those damn bitches. We're so close to the end. Let's push through. Have the conversation with Ronnie before he meets with Sky. Then tell him to tell Sky at the meeting about the conversation. Hang in there. We're almost there. Love you to the moon.
The infamous walk the dog letter, allegedly written by Corey Richens while behind bars, charged with the murder of her husband, Eric. She has a big hearing coming up November 3rd. Meanwhile, Corey and her husband had 3 children together. They were married, they had money. But she had her own little realty business and he had a successful business. Her business not so successful. And prosecutors say she wanted all of his money to fund her real estate flipping business. She's accused of poisoning him in March of 2022, 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl placed in his Moscow mule that she prepared for him. Now that letter, that walk the dog letter, some legal papers were filed and she said, no, that wasn't a letter trying to get my brother to lie for me on the witness stand. No, that was part of my new novel that I'm writing behind bars. How about that? So the same day that the legal papers are filed, there's a phone call between Corey Richens and her brother Ronnie about this walk the dog letter. Take a look, because we have the transcript. And Ronnie says, like, what the heck are they disciplining you for? And Corey says, and then I'm on 30 days of lockdown, 23 hours a day, no commissary. Ronnie, the brother, for what? Like, they have to give you a reason, Corey, for the paperwork. That's what they're saying, for my paperwork that they illegally found, which I wasn't hiding. It's a 65-page novel. They read the whole thing, and on the front of the novel, this is the worst part, on the front of the book, it literally says, these are true events that have happened in my life, but the statements, the events, and the way it all plays out have been falsified for a fiction novel. It's called To Heck and Back. None of this can be used against me. This is only a book. That's why I'm telling you this is insane. There was never a letter. There was never a letter in the book in an envelope. This was never a letter. Like, what the bleep are you talking about? Ronnie, they're trying to bleep her entire trial to taint the darn jury. Corey, then her brother. And it's obvious that's what they're doing. Corey, right. Because, Ronnie says, because they're that desperate. It is unbelievable. All right. Let's bring back in our think tank. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crosland, and Lori Murray with us. Darnell, Al said he was walking off if we didn't get you back, so I'm glad we got you back.
I like that, Al.
Yeah. So,
I was gone.
Darnell, I'm looking at this. Like, what do they know it's being recorded, right? The phone call. Is this, I'm reading this like it's almost, I can almost smell the bad acting in this phone call.
Exactly. So they know the phone calls are recorded, and it sounds like this is just a play to kind of cover up from the walk the dog letter, and it's not working. When I read the walk the dog letter and I heard the phone call, I said they're just making things worse. They're going downhill fast.
So, Lori, when you think about Corey Richens, now she does have one book already written. It was a children's book about grieving. We did speak with the ghostwriter who actually wrote the book, by the way. What are your thoughts? Do you think the judge or the jury will believe that this letter directing her brother to provide some very useful testimony someone's going to believe it was just part of a novel?
I think she's going to be on the New York Times list of never written books. I think this is fantastic fiction. I mean, I honestly believe that this is the walk the dog. The reason it says walk the dog is because she's having to tell the mom to walk the dog. The brother's a dog. He has to be led. He has to be put on a leash. He has to be told exactly what to do. And to make the assumption, and I may be wrong here, but to make the assumption that this is a scripted telephone call would mean that she had somehow gotten to him to then say, okay, now let's have this conversation so we can cover that up. I think she's walking the dog here. I just don't think he's that bright. I think that she's literally leading him into it, and he is all in it. He cannot believe she did this. He's the dog, but he's like the golden retriever, you know, the ones that they'll do exactly what you tell them to, but they're not that bright.
Al, you have less than a minute.
Well, first of all, Vin, To Hell and Back was the Audie Murphy story. My new title for her book is Witless for the Prosecution. Thank you.
There you go. Look at that, in under a minute. All right, folks, get ready. Up next.
In tonight's Tank Takes, a pest control worker is accused of breaking into a client's home and stealing a TV, a toolbox, and a wedding dress. He admitted to stealing only the TV and toolbox. So tonight we're wondering, why didn't he say yes to the dress?
There was pounding on the door. Bang, bang, bang.
He said that we'd seen his face and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
I survived because I'm a born fighter.
I Survived. Next on Court TV.
A Wisconsin woman accused of killing her friend with eye drops.
Was the victim trying to commit suicide?
Or was she murdered for money?
The Eye Drops murder trial. Live coverage this week following jury selection on Court TV.
Welcome back. It's time for tonight's Tank Takes, where we take a look at the world of crime and justice and some stories that are extremely different than the rest of the stories on this program. Our think tank's still with us. Al Wunsch, Darnell, Crosland, and Lori Murray. Are you ready?
Ready to go.
Yes. All right, let's get to it. First story, I'm calling this one Pest Control Heist. So, woman calls pest control to her house. They come in, do the spraying, trying to keep the critters out down in Clearwater, Florida. And apparently the man working for pest control found a key to the house, inside the house, made a copy of it, and then broke into her home and stole some items, including a television, a toolbox, and a wedding dress. So when the guy gets caught, they start interrogating him, and he makes an admission that, yeah, I stole the toolbox, I stole the television, but I did not steal that dress. Let's take a look at his mugshot while I ask you, Al Wunsch, why didn't he say yes to the dress?
Very simple, Vin. Perfect argument on this one. Your Honor, this is the story of my life. Always the bridesmaid and never the bride.
Darnell, why would a man admit to stealing a toolbox, a television, but not the wedding dress?
Well, one, he wanted to divorce himself from that part of the liability, so that was clear. But secondly, he didn't want anybody to probably find out that he was a cross-dresser.
Lori Murray.
Lose him again, please. Lose him again.
No, that was good. He tried to divorce himself from that liability.
Mine was a mic drop. His was he should just drop off the screen. Simple as that.
Lori Murray, why didn't he say yes to the dress?
I think it was because it was too lacy and it really didn't fit him across the top. So it looks a little bit tight through the shoulders, and so I just don't think it was, right for him.
I agree with you. He really doesn't. It's not made for him. All right, you ready for the next one, guys? This one has nothing to do with the dress, but it's caught with his pants down. So a man,
Darnell,
not in Florida, but in Colorado, breaks into a swimming center and is apparently swimming in a pool, and He smashes a glass. He's got no pants on, but you can see he's still got the shirt. So as we watch this, let's hear it again. Apparently this is a speaker. It's one of those, I think it's one of those karaoke speakers. So here's my question. What is he wearing under his shirt? Do you think he's got tighty whities, leopard print underwear, or his birthday suit? Darnell, you go first. What do you think? A, B, or C?
I'm going to go with the leopard print underwear.
Leopard print, okay. Lori?
You make me think of things I don't want to think about. I'm going to go birthday suit.
Birthday suit. Al?
Vin, I'm going to go with the tighty whities, okay, because I dare to be different.
Okay, let's reveal what he was wearing. It was the leopard print underwear. I think you almost get a peek of it in the video. If you take a close look, take one more look, and there it is. Right on the.
I can't get past the non-matching socks.
It was a one-cheek sneak.
Got a
we
lot
could
of
see
problems.
it. Okay, there we go. All right.
He's had a lot of problems.
Let's get to our final story tonight. I'm calling this one Boosted. So there was an Ohio auto body center, and they had this guy who had been breaking in several times. He was caught by the workers there inside one of the vehicles. They bring in the forklift and they lift it up. We have some body cam of the suspect caught in the car, elevated 20 feet off the ground. This is courtesy of WOIO 19 News in Cleveland.
MOUSC.
There he is. So your perp has been elevated by that forklift. Should these workers get a raise, Lori?
Hear me, but I think there it is. That dude was high as a kite.
Darnell?
Well, if you elevate Al to the nickname Tidy Whitey, then I would say they should get a raise too.
Al, you have 10 seconds.
All right, this is the old copper caper because that's what he was selling. And he was thwarted because his name is Funk by the oldest trick in the book, the Funk Lift.
There you go. Al Wunsch III, Darnell Crosland, Lori Murray. Great to see you. Thank you so much. All right, folks, before we go tonight.